morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing very well and that everybody's getting ready for winter, the cold, the chill, getting out the warm clothes. Today, guys, I want to speak on some analysis I've been doing for a while now, looking into these farm murders and having lost some very close friends and good people that I knew to these horrific farm murders. You can't even call it human. So there have been attacks rising at the moment, and it seems like no matter how much more attention gets put on South Africa, it escalates. And we tend to see more fear, more suffering, more death, more torture. And as this happens, we're pushing a nation towards war. And this war will wipe out everything and everyone. As we saw in Kenya in the 60s, all the way up to the 70s, as we saw in Angola, as we saw in Mozambique, Rhodesia, the list is large. It's a huge list of people that have been massacred and genocided throughout Africa. I find it shocking that so many people here in South Africa say we're not in a genocide. It's a lie, it's a myth. I think most South Africans just like to be blind, live their happy corporate lives or live their protected lives without being affected by reality. And these are the kinds of people that sink a country, like the Romans did their own country, living in debauchery, madness, callousness, apathetic existence that do not care for their fellow man, for fellow people at all. As long as their lives aren't affected, they're happy. But when you start affecting their livelihoods, then it becomes a problem. Then they want things to go back to normal. But these selfish individuals are the reason why our country is where it is. We could have rallied a long time ago. In 2011, we had a chance. In 2019, we had a chance to stand up and fight back politically, war-wise, many other ways, to stop madness and bring the country back to peace, which in a lot of times with war, we don't always see peace, but you can always pray for it. But I think we've passed that point. And this is why I'm going to raise something today that might shock many of you, but you need to know what's coming. So again, I have not confirmed any of this. I've just looked at some evidence and I'm putting together something that will help you for the future. The first point I want to hammer on is deceased estates. Now let's think about it. With a deceased estate, if you've had the misfortune of losing a loved one and having to go through the courts and deal with that situation, you need executors and beneficiaries for a deceased estate. And with the new EWC coming on, expropriation without compensation, we can think to ourselves, how interesting will it be if there are no beneficiaries to claim this land? And then after a while, the government just decides to take it because there are no beneficiaries. Now, I want you to put one and one together there and think to yourself, now if the land gets taken like that, it's a very simple way to get rid of white people on their farms or farmers that shouldn't be there, another minority group, colored Indians. And when I say shouldn't, because they don't want us to be there. And then what happens is they claim it for themselves. But for what purpose? For replacing people that have been displaced or moving people onto this farm so they can settle? I don't think so. I think there's something else going on. Something in the background that we can't quite explain. So what I would like to highlight is quite important. I've been thinking about this, and it came from one of, or a few of the operations I've seen in mining where there are farms with literal reefs of platinum under them. I mean thick reefs. Platinum, chrome, copper, nickel, lithium, uranium, and gold, and quite a few other metals, iron included. Now, I would advise all the farmers out there to please take this very seriously. Go and do a geological survey of your farm. Look at the grounds and see if there are deposits of metals, heavy metals, precious metals, whatever metals that could be mined and used in the industry abroad. And go look at what you find. I think, and I'm just thinking out loud, is that potentially these precious minerals could also be the big reason for foreign powers and local authorities interested in exterminating the farmers because they can get free access to these minerals without having to pay for it. Or to struggle to get somebody off of their land so that they can get to the minerals where Farm killing seems to be the easiest way to do it. Now, I want to remind all of you, it is a serious situation, a very serious situation that we're in, because these guys that are sent, probably from government or where else, I'm not sure, it's just my opinion, they are brutal. They enjoy what they do. When they make a man watch his wife and his child being raped before his eyes, like some of the brutal cases we've seen, they enjoy every minute of it. They treat it like it's normal. Cutting off the eyelids of a man, making him watch his wife, 87-year-old wife, or even a young wife, being raped and murdered. Putting a child in a pot, boiling the skin off of this child, and by the way, these are referenced off of real cases. They enjoy this. Or putting a baby in a microwave. Where in your life do you enjoy these kinds of things as a sane individual? But these teams are out there. There are many of them. And there are going to be some cases where I'm going to do some commemoration and honoring the dead and the victims in next week's video, where I'm going to talk about some brutal cases where even politicians' family members were involved, which shows there's a much deeper and darker side to these farm murders. Not just the brutality, but the greed behind it. Now, I want to move on to a next point where I do want to highlight that what I've seen is quite scary. I have noticed that the gear being used for some of these farm murders, including the weapons, are military. They're military grade, they're proper. And what we need to worry about is that the backpacks, as an example, where they use these radar jamming, signal jamming, they use jammers, let's just call it jammers overall, to make it impossible for signals to get out of the farm, phone calls, anything to come in. Now, there are videos of this, so you can go look it up. I don't really have to back it, but if you want, we could put an image in here for you or put it to the bottom of this post. But there are genuine cases, many of them, well armed, well equipped, and ready to go. It's like they are scouting these farms, like they're doing proper surveillance and then deciding when to attack, and then on top of it using proper gear. Now, this ties into the deceased estate thing I was saying earlier, and the interest from internationals and local government of clearing out these farms so they can get to the resources. Now, that's some scary stuff right there. And that is what I'd like all of you to think about. What if all of this is being driven from a few parties, not just one, to get to the precious metals in the land and to get the most fertile lands to farm on for free or just sell it off? I do not think this is everything they're saying it is. So in the end, I would like you all to remember that what we sometimes see is not what we see. When you audit or investigate or you do analysis on things, sometimes you find things that should not be seen. There are hands moving in this, and it is killing off people for money, for greed, for hate. Because there are three parts to this. One is these terrorists, these evil things calling themselves human, destroying human lives in the most torturous and vile ways you've ever seen in your life. No normal human can conceive this. So they're enjoying that, and they're doing it out of hate, fun, whatever you want to call it. The second one is political. Definitely there's a political drive to exterminate whites in general and minorities, because I feel they're doing it systemically. First they get rid of the whites, then the next, Indians, coloreds, and so on, until it's only theirs. But I'll say it again, the BEE laws have clearly shown who they want and who they don't want. And I was on one of those projects, so I do know what the numbers are. And whites, just to be clear, are 1% and less in the workforce in a lot of companies. It's scary. And that's another topic, but it just ties into everything on how to push out the whites. There's so much hate, so much madness that you can't compete. And the problem is, again, guys, you are accosted on all sides. Farmers and whites are being tackled from their own people who are traitorous, people who want war, who are warmongering, and to be honest, they're full of hate and anger and rage for what's happened to their loved ones and that. So now it's political ideology versus political ideology, the past versus the present. You can't win as somebody who wants to make a normal and happy life. It is wrong what's happening right now, and we need to change this. We all need to step in and make a difference. And all I can say to all of you is take the offers, because in the end, what are you going to do with all these minerals and mining rights? Nothing. it's going to be taken by the big shots. And they're just going to make more and more money off of this country like they have off of Africa. And they're just going to exterminate whoever's in their way. I say this to all of you because nobody deserves to live this cruel kind of life. And the spiteful, childish comments and behavior we see from DA officials and EFF officials and all of these stupid things we've seen since the days when my Mana was coming in and the EFF was coming in, and it's a lot of insanity. A bunch of people lying to you all the time to keep you here for their own benefit. Rather go to a country where you can uplift yourself, be a contributing member of society, and make something good. That's my advice to all of you. Don't fight in a war where you will just disappear, the same as what happened to the poor Rhodesians. Good men and women who lost their lives in the cruelest ways. I can guarantee you that our deaths will be far more cruel and far worse, because the things we're seeing now is insane. Please think about it, guys. Keep your chins up. I'm not trying to speak doomsday thoughts into your head. I'm trying to give you options. I'm trying to give you ideas of what you need to do with your life, which is best for you and your family. Starting over sometimes, many times, is better than becoming a victim to madness. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and for the coming weekend, keep yourself